Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Teresa and I'm really excited to do this. This is my first time doing the mid-year freakout tag. I've technically had a booktube channel since 2020, but I haven't really been consistently active in it until this year, or at least a few months ago. So I have not done this tag, even though I've been wanting to the past 2 years. I just never got around to it. So here I am. I'm going to try it out today. Let's just get right into the questions because we all know that I can talk for way too long. So question number 1, best book you've read so far in 2022. I have one book that I'm like is definitely by far my favorite, but there's another one that was the favorite until this one took over. So I'm going to tell you about both of them. I'm going to scoot over a little bit so I can put it here. And the first one that I read that was the favorite is The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor. I already tried to film this video, but I had a ton of distractions. My dog, for one, was in a very playful mood, and so he kept distracting me, and I was watching it back. I was trying to do my editing, and I was just like, I'm really bad at describing books. Like, I'm just not the best at it, so I'm just gonna read the synopses. I know that some people don't like that, but I'm sorry, it's just the way it's gonna be. If you guys want the shortest condensed version of a book, that's how I'm gonna do it. So, The Burning Girls, let me tell you what it's all about. Let me tell you all what it's about. There we go. So we have an unconventional vicar must exorcise the dark past of a remote village haunted by death and disappearances in this explosive and unsettling thriller from the acclaimed author of The Chalkman. A dark history lingers in Chapel Croft. 500 years ago, Protestant martyrs were betrayed, then burned. 30 years ago, 2 teenage girls disappeared without a trace, and a few weeks ago, the vicar of the local parish hung himself in the nave of the church. Reverend Jack Brooks, a single parent with a 14-year-old daughter and a heavy conscience, arrives in the village hoping for a fresh start. Instead, Jack finds a town rife with conspiracies and secrets and is greeted with a strange welcome package, an exorcism kit, and a note that warns, but there is nothing covered up that will not be revealed and hidden that will not be known. The more Jack and daughter Flo explore the town and get to know its strange denizens? Anyways, the deeper they are drawn into the age-old rifts, mysteries, and suspicions. And when Flo begins to see specters of girls ablaze, it becomes apparent that there are ghosts here that refuse to be laid to rest. Uncovering the truth can be deadly in a village with a bloody past where everyone has something to hide and no one trusts an outsider. This book, you guys, oh man, so good. I don't even know what it is about this book that I loved so much. It sucked me in a way that I haven't been sucked into a thriller in a long time. I really felt a part of the story. I actually felt my heart pounding at times because I was so like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, it actually got to me, like made me scared. And I have not had that in a thriller in a long time. So that's part of it. It was just so good. And it's the first CJ Tudor book I read, so I'm definitely checking out more of her books. But I recently read a book, by far takes the cake for the best book this year. And that is The Pharaoh's Daughter by Maysu Andrews. This is a pretty beat up library copy, but you get the idea. This book, you guys, so have you read a book that you just want to hug? Like, I just want to hug it. It was so good. Such a good book. Man, I don't even know how to describe this. If you want to know, I have a non-spoiler review vlog, and also I talked about it in my Christian fiction wrap up. I will link both videos up above. You guys can go watch that if you want to know more about this. The basis of this book is it's about Pharaoh's daughter, who is the woman who found baby Moses in the Nile and raised him as her son. It starts out when she is like 6 years old and goes until Moses is probably like 18, 19 years old. So it spans a big chunk of her life. And you guys, everything about this book was perfect. It's historical biblical fiction, takes place in ancient Egypt. It was very heavy on Egyptian culture and the Jewish culture at the time. Oh, it was so good. I loved it so much. So 100% best book I've read so far this year. I'm guessing will probably stay the best book because I don't know what can top this. Question number 2 is, what is the best sequel you've read so far? Honestly, I have not read very many sequels this year, but there's two that I can think of that I really, really enjoyed. The first one is Down Among the Sticks and Bones. This is, I don't know if you necessarily consider this a sequel because really it's part of it's like a companion novel. So I don't know if this technically counts, but I'm gonna talk about it anyways. This is by Shona McGuire. It's part of the Wayward Children series. This specific book follows two characters, twin girls named Jack and Jill, and they go into a world that is basically a loose retelling of Dracula and Frankenstein. And it's kind of their story of how they became who they are. And it's kind of dark and creepy and weird and very gothic and very much deals with sister relationships. It also deals with having pretty toxic parents, and I just loved everything about this book. I loved the characters of Jack and Jill. Like, I really loved them from the first book. Every Heart a Doorway. This was, I think, book 2 in the series. But yeah, 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. I would say it's my favorite out of the series, and since it's technically the second in the series, I want to count it as a sequel, even though it's a companion novel. You don't have to read them in order. But a book that is in order, so this is Obsidio. I have not read this one yet, but I read Gemina this year, which is the second book in this series. So it goes Illuminae, Gemina, Obsidio. This is a YA sci-fi series by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I've been obsessed with this series. I can't wait to get to this book because I loved the first 2. So let me read you a little bit about what Illuminae is about. This morning, Katie thought breaking up with Ezra was the hardest thing she'd have to do. This afternoon, her planet was invaded. The year is 2575, and 2 rival mega corporations are at war over a planet that's little more than a speck on the edge of the universe. Now, with the enemy fire raining down on them, Katie and Ezra, who are barely even talking to each other, are forced to evacuate with hostile warship in hot pursuit. But their problems are just getting started. A plague has broken out and is mutating with terrifying results. The fleet's AI may actually be their enemy, and nobody in charge will say what's really going on. As Katie hacks into a web of data to find the truth, it's clear the only person who can help her is the ex-boyfriend she swore she'd never speak to again. Told through a fascinating dossier of hacked documents, including emails, maps, files, IMs, medical reports, interviews, and more, Illuminae is first book in a heart-stopping trilogy about lives interrupted, the price of truth, and the courage of everyday heroes. Such a good series. I've rated. So here is Illuminae and Gemina. Gemina is the book I'm specifically talking about. 5 stars to both of them. These are really fun. You see they're mixed media. So you have like all sorts of different things in these books. They are so much fun to read. I've been reading along with the audiobook, which honestly I think is the best way to do it because the audiobooks are full cast, sound effects and everything. And I think if you were to only listen to the audiobook or only read the physical book, you'd miss out on a lot. So I'm listening to the book as I'm reading along with it. It's been so good. Each book actually starts or follows different characters. Yeah, I really like Gemina a lot. I think I may have liked Illuminae the best so far, but I like the characters in Gemina more, if that makes sense. So yeah, I need to read Obsidio, but Gemina was like the best sequel that I have read so far this year. This next question is really calling me out. It is a new release that you have not gotten to yet this year. I have too many to count, y'all. I mean, okay, like not really, but there are too many to say in this video. So I'm gonna show you a list here of my anticipated releases. So we have all of these, and all of these are books. These are all the books that I've been wanting to read and I haven't gotten to yet. There's only been like maybe 2 or 3 out of that list that I've read. So yeah, there's been a lot. A couple I have on my shelves. Anatomy, a Love Story. This is by Sarah Schwartz, and this is gothic. It's about a young woman in Victorian era England who wants to be a doctor, but because she's a woman, she can't be. And so she kind of teams up with a grave robber to get bodies to be able to, you know, practice on. Because like that's literally what doctors did back then. It was illegal for them to like practice on bodies, dead bodies, so they would steal them. And I guess this grave robber she meets, some of his friends start going missing, so there's a whole mystery in there. And I don't know. It just sounds so good. This was a pre-order that I got. I kind of wish I would have got the original version. This is the Barnes & Noble one. The original one was white or like a cream instead of a red background with the red heart. The red on red I think is just a little much, but whatever. I already bought it, so what am I gonna do about it? Also, I think this has, yeah, it has foiling on the hardback, which of course we all know is amazing. We also have a few Owl Crate books that I've gotten. They're here. But another book that I really want to get to, one of my most anticipated of the books that have come out already this year, is The Hacienda by Isabel Canis. This book, all I really know is it says it's similar to Mexican Gothic, and that's all I need to know. This takes place in Mexico. I believe it takes place in the 20s maybe. I could be messing that up with Mexican Gothic, but it's compared to Mexican Gothic, and I know I read the synopsis of it. It said really good, so I really want to read this book. I had it checked out from the library and I didn't get to it in time, so I had to return it, and now I have a huge wait list again at the library, and I'm like, dang it, I should have just stinking read the book. But yeah, I'm really excited for that one, and that's one I haven't read yet. Next question is very similar, and it's the most anticipated release for the rest of 2022. Hands down, the book I am most excited for is Curse of the Krakens by Kevin Herney. This book, as far as showing, does not have a cover reveal yet, which makes me worried that this book is not coming out when it says it is. I believe it's supposed to come out in September or October. This is book 3 in the 7 Kennings series. I've not heard anyone ever talk about these books, but they're so good. They're so good. They're like high fantasy, and I listened to them on audiobook, and I've been totally loving the audiobook because it's a full cast, sound effects, the whole thing. It's amazing. And one of the coolest things about this story is, so you have Kennings, which are powers, and one of the powers is a bard. And what the bard can do is basically when you tell them something, they remember everything they've ever been told. But not only that, they can turn themselves into the person who told the story. So say, excuse me, wow. Say that Jim told the bard a story. Well, the bard can turn into Jim, physical appearance as Jim, Jim's voice, and can tell Jim's story. It's so cool. It's so cool. Let me read you what this series is about. So this first book is A Plague of Giants. It goes A Plague of Giants, Blight of Black Wings, and Curse of Krakens. I don't know if Curse of Krakens is, I don't know if this is a trilogy or if there's more, but oh my gosh, I can't wait. So let me read you what the first book is about. Mother and warrior Talland is a soldier who has already survived her toughest battle, losing her husband. But now she finds herself on the front lines of an invasion of giants, intent on wiping out the entire kingdom, including Talland's 2 sons, all that she has left. The stakes have never been higher. If Talland fails, her boys may never become men. Scholar and spy, Dervin is a historian who longs for a simple, quiet life. But he's drawn into intrigue when he's hired to record the tales of a mysterious bard who may be a spy or even an assassin for a rival kingdom. As the bard shares his fantastical stories, Devin makes a shocking discovery. He may have a connection to the tales, one that will bring his own secrets to light. Rebel and hero. Abai's family have always been hunters, but Abai wants to choose a different life for himself. Embarking on a journey of self-discovery, Abai soon learns that his destiny is far greater than he imagined. A powerful new magic thrust upon him may hold the key to defeating the giants once and for all, if it doesn't destroy him first. Set in a magical world of terror and wonder, this novel is a deeply felt epic of courage and war, in which the fates of these characters intertwine and where ordinary people become heroes and their lives become legend. It's so good, you guys. Yeah, so you have the 7 Kennings. Kennings are magical powers. You have like the bard, you have people that can control water, people that can, what are other things that they can do? Like control the weather, I think. I don't know, there's these different things, and yeah, they're invaded, and it's like their story of how they were invaded and what's happening and trying to figure out how to defeat the giants, and there's like political stuff going on. It's so good. It's so good. And so the 3rd book is coming out this year, and I cannot wait for it to come out. It's seriously like my most anticipated of the entire year. Next, we have Biggest Disappointment. And unfortunately, I have a couple. So first off, we have The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. I just read this book this month, and this was a 5-star prediction for me. Unfortunately, this was only a 3-star book. So this book was blurbed as having dinosaur-like creatures in another dimension, and so you have the society that has to go and like preserve these creatures. Well, you may recognize the word kaiju. That is actually the name of Godzilla and the Godzilla monsters. That's what they're called. They're called kaijus. And so realistically in the book, nothing like dinosaurs at all. I was thinking, because based on the cover, it looks like it's going to be like an environmental thriller. It wasn't really, it was sci-fi, and that was about it. I almost DNF'd this book like twice. But I pushed through. I'm glad I pushed through because the ending was like a 4-star ending. The rest of the book was like a 2-star, so that's why it's a 3. Yeah, it's basically about a lady who joins in with this so-called animal preservation society, but she doesn't realize that the animals are kaiju and they're in an alternate dimension. I think going into this, if I would have not been expecting dinosaurs, I probably would have enjoyed this book a lot more. There's a lot of science in this book. I love science. There's a lot of satire and humor, which was pretty funny. There were some pretty funny parts. But for me, it wasn't until like, I don't know, almost like 80 pages from the end of the book till it got really interesting. So unfortunately, it was quite a disappointment because it was nothing at all what I was expecting. Again, I think the synopsis was a little misleading, at least to me, and that's why it was so disappointing. The second book, though, that I read that was very disappointing, it was just not a good book. So I read My Atonement by Peter Roth. This book, the reason I picked it up was because I thought it was super interesting. It's based on a true story that happened here in Portland, where this man and his daughter were living in the middle of the city. So in the middle of downtown Portland, we have this giant park. It's where the zoo's at. It's where there's like a veteran memorial there, the Children's Museum, the Audubon Society. This huge park smack dab in the middle of Portland, in the middle of the city. It's beautiful. When you're deep into this park, you would have no idea you're in the middle of a city. I actually used to work there. I walked dogs for this couple that lived in the park, or like the area of the park. And so I would walk it all the time. And this father and daughter, this is true story, this really happened, were found living off-grid in the park. And so this is kind of fictionalized version of their story. And the first half of this book, I freaking loved it, because it was all about how they're in the park, how they're surviving, how she's being educated, how she's learning, how they find food, how they interact with like other homeless people in the area, and how they don't get caught, basically. And then the last half of the book, which also in like real life, they were found and brought in by CPS, and then they later like the dad went to work on a farm kind of closer to the beach, and then they disappeared, and who knows where they went. But anyways, in the book, it kind of follows when that happens and talks about how, like, why they left, why the dad decided he didn't want to stay on this farm and work anymore, and like where they went and what happened to them once they left. And once they got out of the woods, it just went downhill. The dad became like crazy paranoid. Weird stuff started happening, like nothing like magical or fantastical or anything. Just the way they were acting, the things they were saying, what he was having his daughter do was just like weird. And even though the author made it very like, there was never an inappropriate relationship between the father and the daughter, but it was still weird to me the way he wrote it, because the daughter was like in her, like she was like 13, 14 years old, and they would still sleep together, close together. And again, he made it clear it was not a sexual thing, but it still weirded me out. I don't know. Yeah, I was very disappointed in this book. I was actually mad at this book. This is a 2-star. I was mad at this book at the end, because the way that the author took it, I thought was really dumb, to be honest. I mean, I just didn't like it. I was just like, you had this great beginning and set up, and then he took it somewhere that was just like, what are you even talking about? Like, what is happening? These weird other people came in, and it didn't make any sense to me. So yeah, anyways, ranting here. That was another big disappointment for me this year. Next question is what has been my biggest surprise this year? And I gotta say, you guys, it was The Burning Girls. I was not expecting to feel so intense about this book as I did. I just loved it. Like I said before, I was actually like nervous. Like this book had me on edge, and like my heart was like palpitating, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like super excited about reading this book. book and having to get to the end because I'm like, I have to know what's going on because there's so many mysteries. And I swear the author did this on purpose. It was like she put in a couple things that you could figure out. So you think, aha, I figured out the mystery. And then 3 more things happen and you're like, what in the actual heck is happening? So there was so many twists at the end, like over and over and over again. And yeah, I think I'm just surprised at how much I loved this book. Like, it was so good. And I figured, I mean, I wouldn't have picked it up if I didn't think I would like it, but I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. So that was definitely my biggest surprise. Next is favorite new author. So this can either be a debut author or new to me author. And you guys, Maysu Andrews, who wrote Pharaoh's Daughter. Yeah, even though I've literally only read 1 book by her, I can tell you that, like, oh my gosh, favorite for sure, at least favorite from this year, because this book was so good and I cannot wait to continue the series. I can't wait to pick up everything this woman has ever written because this book was just so good. So yeah, I would definitely say new favorite for sure. Also, CJ Tudor, great. Another one though that I have read before but I think is definitely becoming a favorite, so not new favorite, but just another favorite, would be Jamie Jo Wright. I just read another book by her. That's 3 books that I've read and so far I've loved every single one of them, so I'm pretty sure she's a favorite, though she's not new to me, but I would say that she's definitely becoming a favorite author. Next question is favorite fictional crush. So I don't really crush on characters. I read a lot of thrillers and they're not really conducive for crushes because a lot of times the characters are not the best people. And I don't know, I just haven't really found that I've been crushing per se on any character, but I can say that like one of my favorite characters that I have read this year is of course from this book. I mean, this book is going to be like the answer to like all the positive questions. There's a character in here named Macer. He's so good, you guys. He is just a solid human being. He is a slave. He's a Hebrew slave, and he is the head linen keeper or head linen producer at the estate that this woman lives at. It's her husband's estate. And his character, he is such a solid, like in his faith, he's a solid friend, a solid husband, a hard worker. I mean, yeah, he's a slave, but like he actually like does, out of like wanting to be a good worker, he's a good worker. It talks about how he just loves his family and is so solid with his wife, and how good he is to his masters, even though they are his masters. The relationship that they have is beautiful. And sorry, you hear the dog barking, my dad's getting home and he's excited. Yeah, so Macer, I would say definite new favorite character for sure. Oh, you know, that's the second question too, is favorite character. So I would say the same thing, because favorite crush, fictional crush, favorite character, same thing. I also really loved Anip, who is the main woman in this. Her growth throughout this story was beautiful. Her heart is beautiful, and she just dealing with certain fears that she's dealt with and overcoming them and becoming this amazing woman who she is. Ugh! Yeah, favorite characters for sure. A book that made you cry is the next question, and of course, y'all know this is going to be on here. This made me cry, made me have all the emotions. But if we're going to talk about something else besides this, Show Me a Sign by Anne-Claire Lizotte made me cry because this book is so beautiful. This is like a middle grade own voices story about a deaf community in the early 19th century in Martha's Vineyard. It was, oh my gosh, so beautiful. So let me read you the synopsis. This piercing exploration of ableism, racism, and colonialism answers the call to dig deep, examine core beliefs, and question what is considered normal. Mary Lambert has always felt safe and protected on her beloved island of Martha's Vineyard. Her great-great-grandfather was an early English settler and the first deaf islander. Now, over 100 years later, many people there, including Mary, are deaf, and nearly everyone can communicate in sign language. Mary has never felt isolated. She is proud of her lineage. Recent events have delivered winds of change. Mary's brother died, leaving her family shattered. Tensions over land disputes are mounting between English settlers and the Wampanoag people, which are the native people of the area. And a cunning young scientist has arrived, hoping to discover the origin of the island's prevalent deafness. His mechanical drive to find answers soon renders Mary a live specimen in a cruel experiment. Her struggle to save herself is at the core of this penetrating and poignant novel that probes our perceptions of ability and disability. Oh my gosh, you guys. So this is based off a true story, or not based off a true story, true events. There was a real death, and I believe it's still there, deaf community in Martha's Vineyard that basically everyone knew sign language. Like, this is where ASL actually was founded, was from there. And this community, like, it didn't matter if you could hear or not. Everyone, it was so inclusive. Like, you could be deaf, but like it wouldn't matter. You could still live your life perfectly the same as everybody else because everyone knew sign and you could communicate with everybody, and everyone was inclusive and like didn't care. Like, it wasn't disability, it was just something different about you. So it talks about that and like how beautiful that was for this community. So as you don't know, I am personally disabled. I have what's called an invisible illness or invisible disability, whereas if you look at me physically, you would never know that I'm disabled, but I am. And so it definitely goes from there, and then also ends up she is taken away and becomes this live specimen, and is put in a situation with people who don't speak sign language, who don't know sign language, who look at her like she's stupid because she can't hear, so she must be dumb as well as deaf. Even though back then dumb meant like you couldn't speak. They believed like she was stupid, like she couldn't do anything for herself because she couldn't hear. And it's like, no, that's not the case. She's perfectly capable of everything, she just can't hear. And so that juxtaposition between the community that she came from, where it was super all-inclusive, to this other harsh community where she can't communicate with anybody and she's pretty much alone in the world, and people are treating her like she is not human almost because of her disability, was shocking and kind of really pulled at my heartstrings. Oh, hi baby. Hello. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Can you get down? Yeah, it really tugged at my heartstrings, you guys. If you are interested in reading just a really beautiful historical fiction, or you know, Owen Voices, the author herself is deaf, I really recommend this book. It made me cry, but like I said, like in a really good way, because it was so beautiful and so much that I could relate to in this character, even though I am hearing, just being disabled in general. I related so much to these people in this book. It was so beautiful. So yeah, that one made me cry. And on the opposite note, we have What Book Made You Happy? And that was also a book, a middle grade book that I read. I actually read both of these for Disability Readathon. Of course, I can say this one again because it did make me happy. But because I don't want to gush about the same book for every answer, I'm going with Get a Grip, Vivi Cohen. And this is by Sarah Capit, I think is how you pronounce it. This book was so cute. This is about a young girl named Vivi Cohen who wants to play baseball, but she has two things going against her. Sorry, my dog's chewing his bone. One, she's a girl. And two, she's autistic. And so she starts writing to her favorite baseball player, who is Vincent James Capello. So they end up having the same initials, which is pretty cute. And she starts writing him, and lo and behold, he writes her back. And so this book is told in letters. Epistle, is that what it's considered when it's told only in letters? I can't remember. Yeah, they're emailing and, you know, writing back and forth to each other. Oh my gosh, pup, what do you want? What do you want, Range? Yeah, that's the camera. Okay, get down. This book made me smile so much because I'm a huge baseball fan. I grew up in a baseball family, softball family. I played, before I got sick, I actually used to be very good. My older brother got a full-ride scholarship to college and very well could have gone pro if he wanted to. He ended up getting injured though, and that kind of put a damper on things. But my goal was to be the same as him and get a full-ride scholarship through softball to go to college. Unfortunately, I got sick when I was like 14, 15 and had to quit playing ball. But anyways, this just was like nostalgia for me in that way, of that I love baseball. Really? So this little man is going to be 1 in a couple of days. July 4th is his birthday. He's going to be 1 year old. Say hello. Say hello to the camera. Yeah, you're just being a stinker. So yeah, you guys, this book, it was just so cute, and it was sweet because it never felt inappropriate having the two of them communicate. It was very like, her parents were very involved and okay with the communication. The baseball player, Vincent, was very, you know, he was like, there's certain things that I'm not going to talk about with you, more personal stuff, you know, but she also dealt with, oh my gosh, Ranger, hi. Her, you know, anxieties and stuff, being autistic, and trying to overcome her different quirks that she had because she was autistic, be able to play. Really, really good. I really like this book, and it made me smile so much. Next question is most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. And I gotta say, like, all my Owl Crate books have been absolutely gorgeous, but there's a couple that I just loved. Like, love. That is Together We Burn Look at this, you guys. Look at how absolutely stunning this cover is. So this is, at least since I've been getting OwlCrate, the first time they've ever done a complete redesign of their cover. They've always just changed the color scheme, but this one is completely different, like, design on the cover. I love this. I love this so much more than the original. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And then of course you have the naked hardback, which is stunning, and you have the dust jacket, the cover art, or the reverse dust jacket. Yeah, I think this book is so pretty. Sorry if you hear the dog making noise in the background. Ranger! The end papers are like dragon scales. It's so awesome. So I'm really hoping that this book is as beautiful inside as it is outside. It sounds super fun. It's, oh my gosh. It's about a flamenco dancer whose dad is like the most well-known dragon hunter in Spain. And basically, instead of bullfighting, there's dragon hunters. So it just sounds super fun. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I know. Hello. It seems like a blast, but I mean, look at the gorgeousness of this cover. This is by Isabel Ibanez, and it's so pretty. Yes, I know, you are too. You're a handsome baby, huh? You're the handsome baby. Get down. I gotta say, another one that I got from OwlCrate that I absolutely love is Hotel Magnificent. Is that how you pronounce this? I don't even know. Magnifique. Whatever. I think it's Hotel Magnifique. I think that's how you pronounce this. But you guys, the hotel, like the lettering, it glows in the dark. This is by Emily J. Taylor. Plus, look at how beautiful this is. Literally the only thing that would have made this book perfect is if it had sprayed edges. Like if they would have sprayed the edges like the teal or the pink. Oh man, this would have been so perfect. But here you have the dust jacket cover, or the art. The hardback itself is beautiful, and these end pages, y'all. These end pages, this is so stunning. This is basically, it kind of is giving me Night Circus vibes. So this book is about a hotel that's like magical, and they have magical things happening at this hotel, and it basically shows up at a new place every midnight. And this girl, I think it takes place in like 1800 maybe, London, I believe. Anyways, this girl decides that she is sick of her life, and so she finds out where this hotel is going to appear, and she decides to go work for them. But as she's working for them, she finds out that things might not be so magical, and some creepy stuff starts happening, and so she has to try and save herself, her sister, and their fellow co-workers. This color scheme, like, while it's not my color scheme anymore that I love, I like purple and blue. With this pink and teal, like this exact pink and teal, I was obsessed with this color scheme when I was a kid. So when I pulled this out, I was just like, oh man, you cannot get much prettier than this. And then we have our last question, which is, what books do you still need to read before the end of the year? There are so many, you guys, that it's not even possible for me to tell you. One of the books on that list, though, is Obsidio by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is the final book in the Illuminae trilogy, and I just really want to finish it up. I really have been enjoying this series a whole heck of a lot, and since it's the final in the series, I have so many series that are ongoing that I've just read and never finished. I have this problem of starting things and not finishing them, like starting series. I do this with TV shows too, because I'll like watch them, but I don't want it to end, or I'm scared it's gonna end bad. So like I don't watch the last season, I don't read the last book. It's a problem. So I need to try and get that done and read this book this year so I can finish out this series. Another one that I have to read, that I'd like to read, are books 6 through 9 of the Druid Chronicles, and this is by Kevin Herney, the author who is writing the Curse of Krakens book. These are so funny, you guys. These books are about a druid named Atticus, and he is like the last living druid on Earth, and in this world, every god of every pantheon, of every belief ever exists. And so do like all the bad things, like the demons and stuff exist too. But you have Norse gods, you have Mary and Jesus, you have the Irish gods, the Scottish gods, which is what he believes in. You have fairies, you have vampires, werewolves, you have Native American gods, gods. I mean, it's like everything, Indian gods, everything you can think of. And the main character, Atticus, has a animal companion named Oberon, who is an Irish wolfhound, and he can talk, or he can communicate with Atticus. And I listened to the audiobooks, and the narrator, the way he does the voice of Oberon is so funny. And the way that the author writes this dog, you really feel like you're in the head of a dog. Like, it's really how a dog talks, or how a dog would think. And he's obsessed with sausages, and he's always wanting food, and it's so fun. Like, I love him so much. So I have read 1 through 5 plus a few novellas in between. I need to read 6 through 9 to finish up the series, and I really want to finish it this year because it's just super fun, and I would like to be able to say that I've checked off a few series off of my list. And basically what this does, it just follows Atticus and his adventures, and him trying to deal with all the random things that come up with, like, witches and vampires and things. I can say that one thing that it does bother me a little bit is how they portray Jesus, but I can look over it in the sense of that it's not trying to make fun of Christianity. It's just saying, like, every single god of everything exists. So it's pretty much poking fun, or not poking fun, but like every god ever exists. So no matter what religion you have or belief system you have, like, it exists in this world, and they touch on it. So again, it is a little off-putting just because I am a Christian, but I don't think the author writes it in a way that's meant to harm. I think it's just part of the story. So there's that. But other than that, seriously, these books have been so fun. They're adventure packed, they're funny, they're magical, I love them. Okay, and then the very last one, I have one more book to read, and that is Lioness Rampant by Tamara Pierce, and this is the last book in the Lioness series. So this is book 4, I believe, and basically this starts out it follows this girl who, when she's very young, she disguises herself as a boy to go to the castle to learn how to be a knight. She has a twin brother, and she basically disguises herself and says that instead of being a girl, that she's the brother of this twin. And she goes to off, and they kind of trade places because he was going to go off to night school and she was going to go off and learn magic. They trade places, and he goes to learn magic instead, and she goes to be a knight because that's like what they want to do. And so she has to like hide the fact that she's a girl, obviously, because girls aren't allowed to be knights. And it's a really cute series, and it kind of follows her throughout her journey. And I like the main character. She's spunky, she's fun, she's hard-headed, she's very much like, I need to prove myself because she's really small and she's a girl, but she can't let anybody know that she's a girl or she's gonna get kicked out, you know? So yeah, it's a really fun series, and I just had the last one to go, and so once I read that, I finish out the series. So yeah, those are kind of the books that I really want to finish out by the end of the year. I mean, like I said, I have so many more, but those are the ones that I'm like, if I can finish those out by the end of the year, I will be happy. Okay, that's it. Mid-year freak out tag done. Hopefully this video turns out okay, because like I said, I filmed this once before and it was like not the best. So that's it, guys. That's my tag. Thank you so much for watching. I will try and link, if I can find the original creator, I will link them down below. This was really fun, and I can't believe it's almost July. Like, it's the 28th right now that I'm filming this, and I'm just like, where has this year gone? Like, I felt like the beginning of the year was so slow, and all of a sudden it's like July already, and I'm like, what? My puppy's gonna be a year old on the 4th? I mean, just in a couple days, he's turning a year old. I'm like, I can't believe it, he's growing up. Anyways, guys, like this video, or thumbs up this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you would like to see more by me. And yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you haven't done this tag yet, even though it's coming into like June or July, do it. It's fun, actually. I really enjoyed it, and it's really been fun watching things and learning about people's reading tastes and just what they have and have not been working for them so far this year. So there's my tag, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. Bye, guys.